Hello. So in this video, we are going to start the tutorial for a very simple game called Cookie Clicker. So at least this version of Cookie Clicker. So the idea is that it's going to have a circle in the middle that represents the cookie. And then so when you click on it, then you're earning points. And we'll kind of get into that it'll increase the points per click every time and get it to change the way that it looks every other time that you click it. So it's like it's doing that crumble effect. Um, and what we're really taking away from here is getting into making games. So interacting with whatever the user does to make our code do something. In the other tutorials, we've pretty much just written code that it starts in a certain way and it runs its course. But now we're writing code that's really responding to what the user does, whether the user clicks on something or maybe the user types in something in another game. That's what we're really learning how to do in this tutorial. So the first thing I want to do is to draw a cookie. So I'm going to do that with a circle. Right, so a circle. Let's make it in the center. And it'll be fairly large, so we'll just see what this looks like. And I'm also going to change the background. I'm going to set that to 0 to make it black, so 0 brightness. And then I'm going to change the color of the circle with the fill function to be brown. All right. So it's we could explore different colors here, but that kind of looks like it. We could start to draw a few other like chocolate chips in here, so that could be a nice thing to add in there. But let's get started with getting it to see if we clicked on the cookie. So that is an event that's going to happen at an unpredictable time. In our other projects, we've really paid attention to how our code is repeating at 60 frames per second, but it was all very predictable. But now it's based on the user. We can't really predict when it is that they're going to click. So what we do is we use this function. We're going to define a new function, but we're going to call it mouse clicked. So we're using something that P5 has set up for us behind the scenes. So we do have to call it something very specific. We have to say mouse clicked. So notice the capital C there. And whenever the user clicks on something, then this function will run. That's just what's been set up behind the scenes for us. So just to prove that, if I did a simple console.log and then said hi, just to see can I even make this happen. So once I run my code then, if I click, then you can see in the console there that we got something to happen, right? So we have identified the moment when they clicked. But we want to know if they've clicked on the cookie or not. And sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. So we're going to use an if statement then to determine where did they click. And also those variables that P5 gives us, mouse X and mouse Y, we can use to determine exactly where did the clicking happen. So we start with an if statement here. I always do my 3 greater than 2 that I'll replace later. Right. Again, this always just reminds me that I need some number compared in some way to some other number. So I don't need to change those later. And what do I want to have happen? I'm just going to do another one of those console.log statements here just to see can I properly identify that event here. All right, so there's something to do with mouse X. Compared in some way to some number. Can I at least get it to identify that we've clicked kind of in this range here? Well, when I think about if I'm clicking inside the circle, I'm trying to determine did the point that my mouse is at fall inside of the circle? So what can help us to figure that out is the center of the circle and then its radius. So fortunately enough, P5 has a really helpful function for us called dist that we can figure out the distance between two different points. So if that distance is small enough, then we know kind of where our point is. So I'm going to use this dist function to measure what is the distance between my mouse pointer and the center of the circle. And if that distance between them is small enough, I'm inside the circle. If that distance is too big, then I'm outside the circle. So I'm going to use the dist function. And so I put in 4 parameters here. The x and the y are the first point, and then the x and y are the other point. Mouse x and mouse y as the first 2 points, the x and y positions. And then the next 2 points are going to deal with the center of the circle, which was 200, 200. And I want to know if that distance is relatively small. If it's smaller than the circle is 200 wide, that's its diameter. So I'm going to use the radius. So I want to know if that distance is less than 100. If that is the case, then do this console log clicked. I'm going to clear my console just to make that easier to see. So I run now. Now if I click definitely on the outside, notice how I'm not getting the console log. That's what I expected. But then if I click on the inside, I am getting it to say clicked. All right, because the distance between my mouse pointer, its x and y position, and the center of the circle is small enough that I'm still on the inside. And if I clear this just to make it obvious, I click just barely on the outside of the circle, I'm not getting it, which is what I'm looking for. I want it to only be if I'm clicking inside. All right, so far I've gotten code that correctly identifies whether I've clicked on the cookie or not. So in the next video, then we'll see how to deal with earning points and keep going from there and making our cookie clicker.